the course itself. So we're talking about merchant bank. Okay. Now the course is very important. All the courses are very important, but this is so important because it will basically help you. Because ultimately many people wish to join banks, investment banks, or there are a lot of openings which are coming from banks because the banks are growing so much. So, and we cover investment banks basically and what are their functions. So, a merchant bank is a financial institution that provides specialized banking services. The primary purpose is to give, any company needs corporate finance or, some advisory services, so they chip in. So, a merchant bank is a financial institution that conducts underwriting. Now, one of the job is to underwrite, the new IPOs or FPOs whenever the corporate world needs money. So they underwrite their shares, and we'll talk about the underwriting in much in detail as we go along in our second part of our sessions. Then we have that they offer loan services, financial advising, and fundraising services for large corporations. They also help, high net worth individuals to make their portfolio because they're sitting with a lot of cash. So they want to deploy and make a portfolio so that they have a good amount of money when they retire. So they help them basically. Then, if you look at merchant bank versus investment banks, there's hardly any difference. But generally, the investment banks are very large. They have a global and large scale presence. They do the same job, advising corporates, underwriting, the new issues, and they also help company to trade in stocks and they manage the assets. So the big companies in the world are Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan Chase, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, and the Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Citibank. So these are, the international investment banks. But when we talk about the merchant banks, they are comparatively smaller. And if we talk about some companies which are India focused or Asia focused, then we have merchant bankers like ICICI Securities, Kotak Mahindra Capital Company, Axis Capital, SBI Caps, Edelweiss Financial Services, and JM Financial Limited. And there are many more, but I have just put them, just few of them, because they're a little larger than others. So then I talked about what is their role? What is the role of investment bankers? So Shishti, can you read?
Yes, sir. Act as financial intermediaries between issuers and
Okay, hold
investors.
on. So just a little bit pause, and then I'll just explain a bit. Though I have explained in my last class, Shishti, you are present, but I think some of the students are new. So they act as a financial intermediaries between issuers and investors. That means the issuers are the companies, the corporate world, and the investors are people who are investing. And of course, it can be retail investors like you and me, or it can be large scale investors. So they act as an intermediary. Whenever an issuer or a company wants to raise capital through an IPO or FPO or bonds issues, debentures issued, say, to the merchant banks, they provide their services in managing those issues. Next.
Provide advisory services for corporate financial structuring.
Okay, just let me see. I started the recording, isn't it? Yeah. So they like to. So they provide advisory services for corporate financial restructuring or structuring. So whenever the corporate requires their help to do a financial structuring, how much money they should raise through equity and how much through debt, or restructure their organizations in terms of the capital raising. So they will help it. So we are talking about that more in detail. I mean, last Saturday we talked about it. Anyway, next.
Assist companies in raising capital through
So
equity
the
and
same
debt
thing, they help
markets.
companies raising through equity and debt markets.
Act as underwriters to ensure the success of
Now,
public
whenever the
issues.
company is raising money, either through the first time through a process of an IPO, or subsequently when they come up with an FPO, further processing offers, so or follow offers. So they act as underwriters. They guarantee the issue. Okay, so that the general public is quite confident that somebody is taken the this thing, that they are going to underwrite the shares. That means in case if they don't get much of participation, then they are going to take the shares of the company. So it gives a lot of confidence to the company as well as to the investors. Okay.
Facilitate mergers, acquisitions, and other forms of corporate
So basically,
restructuring.
they help companies to become bigger through an inorganic route, which means that companies want to grow bigger. By merger and acquisition, so they give help, and they look for various companies which can fit with the existing company. So then they help them to go for mergers and acquisitions to grow their size and their market share. Okay, so now I think, yeah, the last slide, and then we move on to something else. Okay.
Offer investment advisory and portfolio management
So they offer
services.
investment and advisory and portfolio management services. That means they're offering to the HNIs basically, and the people who are sitting with a lot of cash, to build up their portfolio so that it gives you then a good kind of a return when these people retire, or when these people need money at a time when they require returns from these investments. Further.
Serve as project consultants and loan syndication
So they act
agents.
as a project consultants. That means whenever a new company is coming up with a new project, a new business, so they help them to grow and take, provide all the help. And then they act as a loan syndication agents. That means if the company is large, companies like Reliance and many big companies, they require huge amount of capital. Then one merchant bank or one this thing bank will not be able to meet the requirements. So they form a syndication and help these corporate world. Okay.
Provide expert advice on compliance with regulatory requirements, SEBI, RBI,
Because the
etc.
companies need to comply with various regulations, like there are some guidelines issued by SEBI, which we'll be doing later on. Then the RBI and other laws, so they help the companies to see that while they are raising capital, they are also following all the provisions of or all the guidance which have been given by the SEBI.
Support companies in private placements and venture
So
capital
sometimes,
funding.
the companies, they go for private placement. We will talk about that and much in detail in our coming lectures. So what is private placement? So whenever a company is going for, they need money. So either they can, go to the public, or instead of going to the public, they can, place their capital to select few companies, okay, or to select few financial institutions, and that is called the private placement, okay, and the venture capital funding. Generally, it's associated with startup companies. Whenever the new companies which are going to start their business, they need capital, and they don't have any track record. So the venture capitalists are going to help. So we're going to talk about a venture capital also in our course.
Act as fiduciaries in managing public offerings and related
So act
processes.
as a fiduciaries, basically, they help, as a intermediaries, as a fiduciaries in managing public offerings. Because, whenever a company has to raise money through public, so they will help them, and there are a lot of processes which they need to comply. So they provide these services to these corporate world. Okay, so now